Hey, I would like to tell you a story. I have been working for Starbucks for the past roughly 5.5 years. I started working there in, let's say, August of 2020. And I have spoken numerous times on this channel about how much I have not enjoyed the experience. Less so because of my coworkers, but more so because of how poorly things have been managed, mostly on the managerial side. And the plight of the Starbucks worker has been pretty well documented across the internet.
No coffee!
No contract!
No coffee! We're out here in Park Slope marching with Starbucks Workers United. We're fighting for a fair contract. They've been out on strike for almost a month now. We're going to show some support.
I wanted to get a job at Starbucks, and I walked in the door. What would they pay me?
I think $17.75.
Really?
It's $15.25.
$17.75 here in New York?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I want to share a few numbers with you here. $36.2 billion. That is the amount of money that Starbucks made just last year. $95.8 million. That's the compensation package that Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol earned for 4 months of work last year. 400. That is how many labor law violations the NLRB has found that Starbucks has committed. Now, what these numbers show us are a two-pronged picture. On one side, corporate greed and self-enrichment at the cost of its own workers, and on the other, remarkable solidarity by those workers who have been exploited and mistreated time and time again.
What is happening here on this picket line is happening all over this country. We are living in an economy where the people on top have never, ever had it so good. And what Ron and I are dedicated to is creating a nation and an economy which works for all of us, not just the 1%.
Solidarity is not an abstract concept. It is measured in strangers who have never met one another, linking arms to fight for a shared goal and a fairer future. Because all of us are united that we must build a New York where every worker can live a life of decency. And we must build a New York where the workers who power it are able to afford to live in it.
No contract!
No coffee!
It seems to be a pretty regular thing that comes up when people talk about the experience of working there. I am pretty straightforward about how I feel about working there, and I'm not the kind of person to hide my feelings on something, especially in like a workplace. It's just not my jam. I do not like beating around the bush or faking things, especially if I'm going to be forced to be there. You know, I try to comport myself in a way that is very honest to what I'm experiencing, which is, you know, deemed to be problematic for some people. But, you know, this is all preamble to say that I was just fired from Starbucks about 2 hours ago, which is not a death blow to me. I'm lucky to have another kind of job. I have a safety net waiting for me, thankfully, but like, I've been working there a really long time, and I've been trying to quit a really long time, and the way that I got fired, which is the subject of this video, is more so what I want to talk about, because I think it is an interesting story to be told. The short version of this story is I can go get the cup. It's probably going to be backwards, but I wrote... Is it going to be backwards? Yes, it's going to be backwards. That says abolish ice on it. For those of you who don't know how things get down in Starbucks, as of, I want to say, January of last year, they changed a bunch of our policies, basically, truthfully, because of the backlash that Starbucks continues to put itself into in reaction to the stuff that happened on October 7th with Israel and Palestine. Some of these policies including no free water unless you buy something, no using the bathroom unless you buy something, no sitting in the lobby unless you buy something, and all baristas must write a genuine message, personalized message for every and each customer lest they be fired. You can't write the same thing over and over again. No photo or no drawings and no smiley faces. It has to be like one word or more, and it has to be a genuine, personalized message. Or at least that's how things were going in my store. It doesn't matter how busy you are. It doesn't matter how many people are in your face. You have to do this. If you don't, you will constantly be met with threats of corrective action or outright corrective action. There is no foregoing this. A lot of people have a lot of different stances on whether the boycott was warranted. I think that the boycott was always going to be warranted. Starbucks is one of the biggest regular offenders when it comes to violating labor law. There was a big settlement in New York City recently, and a lot of people are starting to become vocal about some of Starbucks' bigger transgressions as of the past couple of years. But the thing that they were always under fire for was union busting, which is, as you can imagine, pretty goddamn frowned upon. But, they were able to manage the public sentiment on that for a really long time. Even if the public sentiment was just out of ignorance, like people just didn't know about it. But, the heat has been turning up on Starbucks as of the most recent couple of years. I think it's still probably too big to fail, but it seems like things have really started to turn for the worst for them, which is why, things have gotten equally as bad inside of the company, working for the company behind the counter. So here's a little recap of why Starbucks has been moving in such a funny way because of the things that have been going on in the Middle East. Starbucks, coffee collusion, and ceasefire. Starbucks, a multi-billion-dollar coffee corporation, has this year come to light for reasons more pressing than coffee. Accused by its customers as funding Israel's military campaign in Palestine, Starbucks faced a series of worldwide boycotts causing cuts to their profits and share prices to plunge. In November 2023, union workers of the corporations staged a walkout and released a statement in solidarity with Palestine calling for the ceasefire, in which Starbucks were quick to separate themselves from this. Starbucks' actions raise the question of whether corporations are merely merchandisers or rather have evolved into vessels of political agendas. Boycotts to corporations is not something unheard of in the growing culture of pressure politics. Corporations such as Apple have also fallen victim to boycotts due to the link between products and the exploitation of cobalt mines in the Congo. However, the magnitude of the 2023 Starbucks boycott revealed a unique mobilization of consumers, similar to how voters may scrutinize incumbent political institutions. We now see a form of activism amongst the society for companies to hold themselves accountable for their sponsors, investors, and donors. In Starbucks' case, they were accused of having money invested in military companies which were linked to Israel and subsequently aiding their military assault in Gaza. Here, a debate can arise concerning whether the boycotts were a form of self-flagellation by consumers or whether this was more economically and politically driven by shareholders and employees in the company. Taek Jin Shin's article, The Shareholder Value Principle, The Governance and Control of Corporations in the United States, investigates the shareholder value principle and how through a sociological standpoint this has been developed into the agency theory. The article presents a notion in which the bureaucratic and feudal nature of corporations enable the conflict between shareholders and agents, which then causes a loss in profit. Theorists of this notion suggest that when agents who are employees and managers misuse their discretionary powers, this can cause negative financial implications on shareholders who seek to reap the profits of the company. This view is personified in the story of Starbucks as the workers themselves went ahead of the corporations and acted off personal belief by issuing a statement in support of Palestine and their consumer boycotts. This contradicted the shareholders of Starbucks, in which some directly invest in arms dealing with Israel. By walking out and mimicking the boycott occurring in the wider world, this further ostracized Starbucks, affecting their ability to make profit. In response, Starbucks released a statement which may be perceived as a message of appeasement for both sides in order to keep the workforce in check, as well as simultaneously enabling consumers to morally accept purchasing and investing in their markets once again. I would caveat this and suggest that instead the political and sociological implications motivated Starbucks' action rather than simple internal corporate rules. I would also suggest that theories such as agency theories echo wider sociological arguments applicable in several aspects of life, such as politics and the economy and society. The basis of agency theory is about establishing control between hierarchies, which is evident across all aspects of society: class, gender, race, and sexuality. When put in the perspective of a corporation, their objective is to produce the most yield out of their product, meaning whatever view is most profitable to them is the way that they will go. For Starbucks, this was a debate whether they would side with shareholders who had bought into the company, or alternative with the consumer who buy from the company, and what financial side was most important to them. But viewed through a sociological lens, shareholders' political view on the Israeli-Gaza war genocide was seen as a minority view amongst their consumer, meaning that the company could not be seen to collude with them. Yet the shareholders are crucial in the financial foundations of a corporation, and therefore Starbucks were not in a position to oust them, hence why Starbucks preferred to take a neutral position. Corporations across the world are now in position where their internal structures must reflect and work alongside external views and perceptions, meaning that it's no longer enough to just have a profitable product. They now need to appeal in ways much different than a conventional producer-consumer manner, by having the ability to navigate the socio-economic background of their audience. This unveils the extent of monopolization of products in recent years, anointing the customers with a level of power that they had not had nor asserted previously. All of that to say that I watched in real time Starbucks fumble this bag, and they took their side. They said, we are not affiliated with this. They're using our intellectual property to take a political stance that we are not okay with. And the boycott was swift. It was a very kind of before and after moment. I worked in a mall store. During the week, we still got business, but it really never ever compared to what we got during the weekend. But after the boycott, like, it was like a ghost town in there, and it still has not really been the same. We are almost completely dead during the week. We're in an enclosed kind of ecosystem within our mall. Like, the only people who are buying from us are mall workers when they clock in, take their break, clock out, and then the people elsewhere clock out of their jobs and they come into the mall. But please understand me when I tell you that things were really never the same again after that. And not everybody agreed that Starbucks needed to be boycotted, but enough people did to feel the pain, like, for them monetarily. We went through 2 CEOs, or I think a couple of CEOs. We've gone through a couple of CEOs already. There was Howard, and then the guy who introduced the mobile orders, the Indian dude who did the deals, and now this dickhead, what's his name? Burrito Boy. He was the CEO of Chipotle. Brian Niccol. Voted like the worst CEO of the year. Yahoo Finance. Worst CEO of the year, Brian Niccol of Starbucks. Today we start the list of the worst CEOs in America. There will be an all-time winner later in the year. The way these CEOs are picked stems from major strategy stumbles. It also included a series of decisions we made that affect these groups. These are shareholders, customers, and employees. Some of these CEOs are fairly new to the public corporations they run. Others have had their job for years. Starbucks Corporation's share price suggests that the company's best year is well behind it, based on its performance over the last 5 years. The stock is down 60%, while the S&P 500 is up 84%. The coffee company has had a series of chief executives over the period. Kevin Johnson, Howard Schultz, Laxman Narasimhan, and Brian Niccol have all held the job. Schultz has had the job twice recently. He did not found the company, but his success in its early days made him close to one. His net worth has been pegged at $3 billion. Niccol is the board's latest CEO experiment. After a little more than a year, it has already failed, particularly for those who look at the stock price. In March, it topped at $117. Today, it trades at $83. Based on the 3 quarters of earnings and set of announcements about planned improvements, investors have lost whatever patience they had. Niccol was expected to be a turnaround artist due to his track record at Taco Bell and Chipotle. His lack of success at Starbucks has included a line of statements primarily about how Starbucks might return to its roots as a community coffeehouse where baristas are friendly and well-dressed. When people order, their orders will come fast, his plan said. That is because he has streamlined the menus. The baristas will also remember people's names and sometimes write on the cups. We are forced to do this under threat of constant corrective action. If you do not write on the cup, you will be fired. If you write anything that we don't like on the cup, you'll be fired. Just like me. What does Nickel have to show for his plans? He dumped Starbucks operations in China, which was supposed to be its fastest growing market and eventually perhaps its largest. Starbucks sold 40% of its China operations for $4 billion, plus brand licensing and some upside. The buyer was Boycotts Capital, which, while local, does not appear to have any deep roots in the coffee shop business. It is rare for a company to walk away from such a strategic asset, even if it faces a long repair job. Without China, most of Starbucks' future is in the United States. For the year ended September 29, Starbucks revenue increased 3% to $37.2 billion. Earnings fell from $3.31 a share to $1.63. Nickel made a statement without offering proof. We are a year into our back to Starbucks strategy, and it's clear that our turnaround is taking hold. Except everybody's fucking miserable. Finally, some Starbucks workers went on strike. Many of these people can't accept that Starbucks will not come to the table to negotiate better pay and working conditions. The strike, which began this month, which was November 25th, 2025, expanded to over 95 stores in 65 cities and has continued and escalated since then. I should add. This represents a small number of stores. However, the news has appeared in almost every major news outlet in the country. It's a bad look, and the number of unhappy employers could grow. You get the point. Things have deteriorated quite starkly. I can say, based on my lived experience, there is a before and after point. And now we are in this tailspin. Of constantly, well, I guess I'm not in it anymore, but they are constantly in this tailspin of putting their foot in their mouth every time they say something publicly. Now, I've been fired trying to protest a government a fascist government paramilitary organization that is killing people in the streets. They've killed four people in fucking broad daylight. And this company that used to pretend to be this progressive force in the world and this third place environment, all of that crap that they were doing proved it's not working anymore. We need to be focused in making money. Back to Starbucks means we need to make money. We lost too much money because we put our foot in our mouth about Israel-Palestine, a genocide, and now we need to make money. So that third place, gone. If you don't buy something, get out. No more free water. If you don't buy something else, get out. All this crap. If you don't buy something, you can't use the bathroom. Get out. All of this because they put their foot in their mouth. And now, this company that used to be this progressive force in the world cannot handle abolish ICE. You know, I'm a person of color, and I understand that writing political messages on a cup is against the policy, but, like, look at the world that we live in. Look at the world that we live in, where there are concentration camps in this country now. There are paramilitary forces breaking up families, killing people in the streets, and kicking people's door down. You are forcing me, under threat of corrective action, to write genuine messages on these people's cups. And when you get a genuine message like this, you fire me for it. A person of color. My entire store are people of color. Everybody hates working there. Everybody in my store hates working there. They hate it. We have all been trying to escape almost the entire time that we've been working here. And I do mean the word escape. People are there because they are stuck there, not because they want to be there. And my last words before I left that store to them was, do not stay here much longer because things are continuing to deteriorate. It is disgusting. And it is a farce. I've watched this company deteriorate in real time, and it's going to continue to deteriorate. And I stand behind this union 110%. I stand behind these strikes 120%. Because the shit that they are doing is wrong. It is money grubbing. It is greedy on top of the union busting that they were already doing. I saw Bernie Sanders grill that man in a hearing, Howard Schultz, over this crap.
I thought my entire life was based on the achievement of the American dream. Yes, I have billions of dollars. I earned it. No one gave it to me. And I've shared it constantly with the people of Starbucks. And so anyone who keeps labeling this billionaire thing, it's
Mr. Schultz, I don't mean to cut you off. We have time limits here, and you have
Well,
the
I just think-
opportunity. I'm not cutting you off.
It's your moniker constantly. It's unfair.
No, it is
I
not.
earn-
You have had more time. I've
Well,
been generous with the time.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
But Mr. Chairman,
We have a room full of people.
Yeah.
We have a panel to go after you. You're
Fine,
not the only
fine.
person testifying.
Okay.
Senator Cassidy.
I'll be okay, but it's the principle. And which is why I'm okay being fired over this, because I will die on this hill. You want me to look like a barista? You want me to be the man of color with the funny Michael Jackson hair and the tattoos and the piercings? You want me to be that? Then let me be that. You gonna take my dress code away? I have to look like a fucking morgue worker every day? You want me to be this this hipster, but you don't want me to be the hipster? You don't want me to advocate for which is right, which we used to do in the past? But we can't now, because we've lost too much money. And they think that writing on the cups messages that a lion's share of our customer base doesn't give a fuck about or hardly even notices. I'm not going to pretend like nobody cares and nobody notices, but a majority of these people don't. And if you are the pussy ass motherfucker who got a cup that said abolish ICE on it and sought to take away somebody's job because of it, you are a little bitch. You're a pussy. I'm sorry. I do not make up the rules. If you are seeking to complain to take a person's livelihood away because they wrote abolish ICE on the cup because they are protesting a governmental paramilitary group's operations, that Minnesota is under occupation right now because of them. They're being occupied like it's a military force, like it's a third world country. And I can't protest that in a Starbucks? I just wanted to share this story. You know, I think it's wrong. I don't want to be like a tattletale. Oh, I'm telling on the internet because you fired me. But no, I'm telling on you to the internet because like that's terrible. That is terrible. It'd be different if, you know, these things didn't have real world implications, you know, and Starbucks didn't have the history that it has. But people are dying. People are dying. I'm a person of color protesting a governmental fascist paramilitary group. And if you're going to fire somebody over that, I think you deserve to be tattled on.